is the grand opening of the Shadow Lake Interpretive Forest. Here we have the sign introducing the forest, and in the background you'll see the Sioux rock block. Quite a massive and beautiful chunk of rock. Now, we'll just pan to the right and see a bit of what's been happening here this spring when we started. We had a crew that was Alan LeBlanc, who was doing the spacing and pruning, or he was in charge of it, with his company, Sioux Forest Products. His father logged in this area, I believe it was about 15 years ago. And here comes Ruth Bloor and some helium balloons to cheer up the occasion.
Okay, everybody can work your way down and negotiate this trail here.
Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, what is the red? Are they going to pave that trail?
Right
there.
Part of this forest, and we hope that we can complete it and that the public for many years to come will enjoy it. And at this time, I would like to officially have the witness call.
Photo opportunity here. Sun's in the right direction.
You ready?
No.
Hey.
Open.
Thank you very much. To mention here, this demonstration forest would not be happening at all if it wasn't for the hard work of Mike O'Neill here from Intensive Forest Management and Shirley Henry here, the support from the village of Pemberton, and also the support from all the companies and hard work from everybody. With all this support, this is becoming a reality, and I want to thank especially Mike O'Neill for the hard work of leading everything up to this process. Thanks, Mike.
I should apologize. There may be people here that haven't heard the technical forestry term. Basically, all the trees that are not doing as well, they're competing, just like thinning out a carrot patch, in your garden. Basically, when a plantation reaches 3 to 5 meters, now these trees here are probably ranging from 5 to 10 meters. We're a little bit late on this, but normally in an operational practice, we would be spacing when trees are 3 to 5 meters in height. They begin to compete for sunlight, nutrients, water, just as the carrots do in your garden. So we're thinning out surplus trees, basically, to give room for the remaining crop to put on more growth. Okay, so that we want trees growing at an optimum rate, as opposed to this competition that they were under. Now, a lot of the stems in here you can see were hardwoods. There was a lot of alder and dogwood and birch and maple in here that we had to take out because they were actively competing with the conifer crop. Now, just a brief history. We'll take a step backwards. This area, of course, was logged in 1968, 1969 by LeBlanc Brothers Logging. It was broadcast burn in the fall of 1969. It was planted in the spring of 1970 with 2-year-old Douglas fir. These are all planted trees. There's the odd tree that's seeded in, like that smaller one there would have seeded in afterwards on its own. But the larger trees, the main stand here, they're all from 2-year-old Douglas fir, about this high. And the planting foreman was Al Staley. Of course, everyone knows Al Staley, longtime resident of Pemberton. Then in approximately, the trees grew up to about, I'd say the late 70s, early 80s, and then there was a brushing done. You'll see some old stumps in here of these hardwoods that were competing actively with the conifers. They were actually outpacing them, and on that side of the road, they actually did outpace them and outgrew them, and we've removed them to release some of the trees. This particular area was spaced to 1,000 stems per hectare. We're just going to go up the road here. We're going to go down to a lower density of 600 stems per hectare. When I talk about stems per hectare, those are the stems that we're leaving behind. At 1,000 per hectare, we're going to be further reducing that in about 15 years down to about 400 or 500. with a commercial thinning. When the trees are approximately 10, 12 inches in diameter, their merchantable size will come in here and take out 50% of these trees, further reducing it.
That'll be one of the ways of maintaining jobs, I guess, is
Exactly. Very important point. As you all know, or may not know, the allowable cut in the Sioux TSA has been reduced. The logging season is getting shorter and shorter in Pemberton. We're going to have to be looking for ways to employ people in the logging industry in other forms of employment, and certainly this forest practice, spacing, thinning, pruning, fertilization, tree planting is a way that people can get involved. Trail building is a way that loggers that are going to be laid off or the short season's getting shorter is to diversify into this end of things. Okay, this is the pruning stop, basically explaining what we're doing with pruning. We're removing the lower branches to a height of 3 meters, okay, to increase the quality of the wood by the elimination of knots. Now, normally we don't, in the natural stand, natural stands tend to be very dense, as we saw back there. With the lack of sunlight and that, natural pruning occurs. But we're talking about probably a 40, 50-year process. So if we can come in with a tree, now the ideal tree to prune is probably that one right there in front of you, Debbie. We want a core, a knotty core of wood approximately that size, because it's going to take another 4 or 5 and even 6, 7 years for these knots to heal over before clear wood is being produced. Okay, and then what will happen is it'll be clear wood from then on being produced. As you know, trees grow on an annual basis. They put on a circumference of wood all the way up from the top to the bottom. And what we want to do, the objective here is to produce veneer quality Douglas fir so that we can compete in world markets. We're able to compete right now because we have natural old growth. That nature did this over a course of 50, 100 years. But here we have these rotations in here are probably going to be at 100 years maximum. So we're trying to speed up the natural process by pruning. Okay, this pruning was all done by hand by a small pruning saw about this long. And it worked in teams of 3 people. 2 people were pruning all the lower branches off. The branches have to be pruned flush with the main stem. We don't want any stubs left. We don't want any scarring. If you get too close, then you scar on the underside here. And that leads, that's an open point for fungi to attack. And then what happened is the 3rd fellow came along with a pole saw, and he actually did, say, from here up, he did the top meter. So the 2 ground people did up to 2 meter point, and then the 3rd person came around and did the top meter with the pole saw. And it's a very slow process. We're talking probably 10 to 12 man days it took on the other side of the road, where we were pruning approximately 800 trees per hectare we were pruning. And when we're down to 600 here, you're probably looking at 7 or 8 man days. It's a very slow, labor-intensive process, but all the indications, all the research that's been done, the money is well spent, and it pays off in producing clear wood 5 to 10 years down the road, and then clear wood from then on. So what we're going to do, we did a 1 meter, a 3 meter lift here, the first lift. And we don't ever want to take more than 50% of your crown away from your tree, or otherwise you're actually injuring the tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait till the trees are approximately 12 meters in height, or about double the height they are now, and we're going to take another 3 meter lift. This will probably coincide with the time we're doing the commercial thinning. We're very close. So we're going to come in here again in about, I'd say 15 years, 10 to 15 years, and we're going to prune another 3 meters and remove probably, this stand here, 600, we probably only take 100 or 200 out. We don't want to go below 400. What else can I say?
Actually, you could reduce the rotation even less than 100 years, Mike, with fertilization and everything else.
We could reduce the final rotation, yes, you're right. Yes, and we may even do one of these blocks. All these treatment units are approximately a hectare in size, so we only got 10 hectares to work with here, so I divided it up as best I could into smaller units so that we could compare one spacing regime with another, one pruning. We've got trees that are spaced right over here that are not pruned. So we're going to follow the sequence because these trees do go under a bit of a shock for the first year. And they're actually going to be in shock for the first growing season. They're going to take a while to recover. So you don't want to take more than 50%, as I said, otherwise you're really jeopardizing the health of the tree. And that would be opposing to what we're trying to do. Douglas fir needs complete sunlight in order to grow. So what we've done is we've cut all the alder down, opened up the stand, and hopefully released these conifers that have been doing so poorly for 20 years. Yeah, maybe if we just move forward, we'll be behind us. So we've actually released these trees after 20 years of suppression, and they should take off now. As you get in here, you can just almost forget civilization. Like you can't see anything at all. A little bit of the highway, just the odd car going by right there. And then the railroad tracks you can see on that side. But it's pretty pristine in here. And this is what always has amazed me, is the potential of this small area so close to the highway. And yet once you get in here, you know, you look, just put your back to it and, you know, you're right out in the wilderness here.
Beaver in here? Must be it.
There's evidence of beaver, there's past evidence, and then there's actually fresh evidence right along this section of the trail in here.
Trees now?
Yeah, lots of this past winter. And all old scars all along the trail on that side. And I believe in the 30s and 40s, these local resident told me they used to trap in here. A lot of beaver out of here. So,
there's a fish. Big fish.
And we got fish in here. Fish in the water.
See him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it dandy?
Yeah.
So,
like I said, this particular demonstration course has got everything as far as I'm concerned. We got the water, the marsh habitat. I don't know all the data. We're trying to get But anyway, we got lots of plans to further develop the trail system on the other side here. There's all kinds of, we're going to do more juvenile spacing, more commercial thinning on that side between the Sioux River Forest Road and the railroad tracks and the tracks down to the lake. There's all kinds of projects we got on the go here over the next 2 to 3 years. Surviving the fire because Douglas fir has bark up to a foot thick. It can survive fires. But the rest of it was basically charred stumps and snags and black and just basically moonscape. And look what we have now. So that's the whole. If that's all you leave here with after doing this hike around the lake, is the fact that forests are renewable. And then we've had the word, you know, all winter long and for the past year or two, clear cutting has been headlines in all the newspapers. Well, we just spent the last 20 minutes in a 20-year-old clear cut. Okay, so we got to be able to take that clear cut, the 1991 clear cut, and project it ahead 20 years, and that's what it's going to look like. You know, and it's going to look even better than that because we're doing even more management practices now than we were doing in those days. So that's what we're trying to show and tell here is, you know, forests are renewable. After a devastating forest fire, trees do grow back on their own. And after a clear cut, which some people find very objectionable and devastating, trees do go back and provide work and jobs for future generations. The whole theme of this forest is fire. I can just point out, if you just step back here a bit, that entire mountain was burnt, including the forest all along the trail and in the foreground here. In the mid-20s, there was an old sawmill located right at the Green River crossing. The Thompson family, I believe, was
how old is Canada? You know, today?
Great.
Say it loud. 124, that's right. Okay.